Hello and welcome to Sports Talk, EBTV's production of wrap-up of the fall sports season here at East Brunswick High School. I'm Ken Sarokal, and I'm joined in studio by Frank Noppenberger, the Supervisor of Athletics for the East Brunswick Public School System. And Frank, we have to start off our discussion here as a wrap-up with an ongoing, not yet wrapped-up sport, and that is the football team, who had a successful season and are continuing their run into the playoffs.
Well, it's one of those years for us, the fall, one of our outstanding falls. It seems that every fall is exceptional. This year, maybe it's a step further in the success individually and certainly team-wise. And for some reason, it seems that it's football, Ken, that makes the big buzz in school. The kids are constantly talking about the playoffs for the championship game coming up December 5th down at College in New Jersey, 3 o'clock. And for the Sarokal game, there was such a great buzz and school spirit throughout the school. It was pretty neat. It's good to see. So yeah, it's got everyone excited, and it's what I like is that the girls basketball team is supporting it, and they want to make sure they get to the game. And you see all the different teams they're supporting. They kind of sit in groups, not by design. Like the one kid, one of the soccer players. He borrowed a bear head. He wanted to borrow a bear head. He was so into it, and I guess he wants to rename Nameless. I don't know, but anyway, it's good to see the school, faculty, and everyone, excited about it.
Yeah, that game at Sayreville, East Brunswick had a tough game against Sayreville early in the regular season, and this game at Sayreville, a playoff game, intense atmosphere, almost full house there at Sayreville High School, and the Bears come out with a 13-8 victory, tight game. But again, it's this momentum that we seem to be building. It seems like magical 2004 all over again.
Yeah, well, West Windsor wasn't that close, but this game certainly went down to the wire, just like the Hillsborough and Brick game from '04. But that game was the thing about the game. I'll never forget it. Before the game, I'm talking to Marcus, and he's got his unusual, cool, calm demeanor. Usually he's that intense football coach, and I'm always goofing on him about it. But he was very calm. And Thursday, he walked up to me, we were talking, he said, "We're going to win." And I said, "Well, we'll see. We'll just, He said, "No, we're going to win." And he was confident. And their game plan, the defensive scheme was outstanding. They controlled the ball. And, the unsung hero, that, of course, Tooch, and then, of course, Sullivan had some good defensive plays in one side of the end zone, Goodzak in the other. Weber had a great play on an interception, but the Janczyk's 2 field goals, which, one hit and bounced in, and theirs hit and bounced out, and then his other one with about 3 to go, 39, 40-yarder went in, put his up more than a field goal, and that was the difference, because they could have gone for a field goal where they were at the end of the game if Tyler didn't kick that field goal. So, you think about the job that he did, keeping the ball down, and his holder, and it was just a team effort. But he's the unsung hero for that game, in my opinion, Tyler.
Now, earlier in the month of November, EBTV covered the Brick Memorial game here at East Brunswick High School, and we're facing Brick again, and they are the defending Group 4 Central Jersey champions. And one of the things that Richie Whalen and I noticed right away is that they run pretty much the same offense that we run. And it was a difficult game to watch and to broadcast because it didn't seem like the Bears could or were able to defend against what essentially they run on offense themselves.
Oh, I think the game may have ended with us having the last possession and a chance to win, and that's all we need to know, that we can compete with them, and we'll make adjustments. I know the guys are breaking down film already. I know they're getting ready for tomorrow with Old Bridge. No doubt about it. But it's just like college staff, some of the kids were working, some of the coaches were working on the Brick game already. They'll divide them up, and they start getting the game plan for this and a game plan for that.
Well, let me pick your brain here. We're taping this on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We have the Thanksgiving game, which I don't want to say it's a meaningless game, but...
Oh, it's not meaningless.
It's not meaningless when it's East Brunswick Old Bridge, but do you risk injury for those players?
It's football. You got 10 days afterwards to get better. We're going out there 100%. We're not worrying about injury. If you play afraid of getting hurt, or you don't want anyone to get hurt, or you don't want to show a particular play or on defense or something to the opponent, and it's, no.
Because I remember in 2004.
It's not an exhibition game.
Right.
It's not NFL
Right.
exhibition.
But I remember in 2004 we had the same scenario set up where the weekend before we had the playoff game, we won. Now we come into the Old Bridge game, and that game seemed like very, very flat. It didn't seem like the intensity was there. Obviously, we saved up energy for the game at Rutgers, it was, against Jackson. As I said, I'm worried about whether or not this game is going to be either bypassed completely, or we're going to put so much energy and effort into this game that we might blow out somebody, a knee, an injury, or something will happen, and that's what I'm concerned about.
You think the seniors want to lose their last
No,
home game?
I don't. Not at home. Not at home.
Don't worry
Not
about
at
us
home.
being pumped to the team. They self-motivate. They're pretty good. So I'm not worrying about us being pumped, and we're going to pull out all stops to win that game. This is a playoff game within a playoff game.
And again, this game is Saturday, December 5th at 3 p.m. at the College of New Jersey in Ewing. Tickets, I guess, will be available at the door. We don't know any information about any media coverage of that game, radio, television, anything
I'm
like that?
sure NJN or whatever it is will be involved in that. But before we leave football, I got to say, it's the senior leadership, I think, can, just like '04, we have 22 seniors, and not all of them are stars. Yeah, Tucci's a star, and he deserves everything. He's a competitor. Any accolade he gets. Timmy O'Sullivan's a D1 prospect. Michael Weber's outstanding. Tyler, we talked about his kicking already. Jared Lynch, underclassman, outstanding, gets a lot of ink. Kevin Lance, outstanding receiver. But there's some of those behind-the-scene guys, Matt Skrinovich, Tom Ursel. These are backup kids that maybe don't play a lot or play one position. Logan McLennan, the offensive lineman. Joey Q, the offensive lineman. They're not getting the ink. And he's an underclassman, Joey. But it's a real team effort. They've gotten past worrying about points, worrying about yards, worrying about touchdowns. It's a team effort, and that's why we're successful. And I know Marcus and the staff preached that from the beginning. We're not going to win a championship worrying about how many carries or how many yards I get. And with 22 seniors in there, 23 seniors, and all taking their role, either on specialties or just being a place kicker or just being this. And that's why we're so successful this year. Win or lose, the kids came together as a team.
Okay, now we move our attention to tennis, girls tennis, Coach Brian McInerney. And the girls tennis team had an inconsistent year with a record 8-9, but some individual honors.
Well, we upped the schedule. But we were still conference champs, We had to win the last couple matches, and we had to play well in the GMC tournament. And we did, and I think Lindsay Kirchenbaum, who won or made it to the finals in first singles, part of first doubles, I should say, with Stephanie Lowe. That's the reason we clinched, because every time you advance, you get a point. And it was those two girls that had an upset and gave us enough points so we clinched the title. And they don't get the ink that Stephanie Balassa does. Stephanie's going to graduate. She's going to Rutgers on a scholarship, play tennis. All-time leading wins. Over 100 wins with East Brunswick. Was player of the year. All-state gets all those accolades. We'll get all those accolades. And she deserves it. But again, there was the other kids, and like Anna M., who also made it to the third place, got points for us that we never imagined, which enabled us to win the championship. So like cross country, which we'll talk about later, tennis is also a team sport, although it's one-on-one most of the time.
Okay, now with the cross-country teams, both the girls and boys, master record of 9-3 combined. That's a really good showing for East Brunswick in cross-country.
Bianca, for the girls cross-country, she was an all-conference, all-division performer, and she'll be back next year. She's a great runner, and she's got four freshmen helping her. It'll be sophomores next year. So I think the girls will be real tough next year, and Coach Talbot works them hard. And the kids like to work hard. It's a good work ethic with them. But not a surprise, but a very exciting part of the fall was boys cross country. We missed being conference champs by 1 point. Well, what does that mean for the people that may not know? You've got your first 6 people score. Well, one of our people was just edged out by another school. So maybe it was like a the 27th place versus the 28th place. And if we would have flip-flopped, if we would have just edged the kid out, we would have been conference champs. So every time you pass someone in cross-country, it counts as a point, or less points, because the lower points wins. So every time you pass someone, you got to count that. And it was a team effort that got us to within one. If it was a tie, we would have won on a tiebreaker. It was almost a photo finish at the end that a kid from another school outleaned our kid, and we lost. The kids were devastated. They were devastated. And next week, I saw them working out at the track because there was tournament games going on, and you could see the focus in their eyes. And we came back in the state sectionals, the same place, and we won by 1 point. So, you know, their goal was to win a championship. They just missed the GMC. They just missed the Red Division, but they certainly did a great job in the sectionals. We've been sectional 3 times in the school history, and this, of course, was the last one. Great senior leadership, great team camaraderie, but it wasn't the seniors that maybe weren't the outstanding runners. The DeMarco brothers, Joe and Dan, great job of leadership and working hard. Matt Kohler, another one. Okay. However, it was Alex Elkin, Brian Smith, and Alex Silverman, who were all division, all conference performers that scored the most points for us. So it was good to see the underclassmen, the juniors, rising to the occasion following the leadership of the seniors. So congratulations to the kids and to Coach. And, you know, Coach was Coach of the Year this year. I'm not sure if it's out there in the newspaper, but they'll announce it soon that he was Coach of the Year by the Home News Tribune. Congratulations, Coach Harnett.
Great. Girls field hockey? 16-5-1. That's a great record for Coach Todoroff and the girls.
It was a great season, but if I have any gray hair, it's because of them. I'm not sure how many games they had in overtime, but they never lost an overtime game. And I've witnessed 3 myself, them winning in overtime, and then the finals of the GMC went into a overtime, and it ended up being co-champs.
Can you explain that? Because that was something that I know the students that I have who know the field hockey girls were asking about. Well, you know,
why
most sports, there's a sudden death or there's some kind of penalty.
Sudden victory. We put the positive on it.
Okay, sudden victory.
Thank you.
But why co-champs here as opposed to playing until somebody scores?
There's 2 schools on that. The first thing is the state says you can only play so many minutes. National Federation, the state of field hockey, right? So you can only do so much of that. The state in the finals, the NJSIA, does not have a true champion if it's the last game of the year. They have co-champs. So the GMC, following the lead of the state, will have co-champs if it's not determined on the field. Didn't want to determine it by a shootout. We did 2 overtime periods, 2 7-on-7s, but didn't want to do a shootout. The GMC ADs vote on that every year, and they voted in co-champs 2 or 3 years ago, so the cycle will remain. Soccer's the same thing. Our soccer team, if it would have ended in a tie, there'd be no shootout and it'd be co-champs. It's a philosophy. Some people feel that after 100 minutes of soccer or 90 minutes of field hockey, if you can't determine it on the field, let's not determine it by penalty strokes or penalty kicks. Coach Todoroff feels the opposite. Some of the girls did also. So I think the rule's going to be changed.
Okay.
So it's just the philosophy of how you want to end the game.
Can I ask how you voted on that rule when it came up?
I proposed a winner. I don't want to be hard about it, but there's always a winner and a loser. You give your best and you lose. That was my proposal, and it was defeated. You give your best, and if you lose, hey, so what? You walk off the field, you shake hands. But the conference voted, and it wasn't even close, to go with co-champs.
Okay,
I was certainly a proponent of 1 winner and 1 second-place team. No one's a loser, but it's, you know, 1 team has to win.
Okay, switching now to gymnastics as we go indoors. The gymnastics team, the young team, from what I understand, Coach Karasevsik, a 3-3 record in match competition. Any individual standouts there?
Well, I'm going to just say Nicole Rosano and just leave it at that. In about 2 years, we're going to be talking about her maybe being a state champ or at that level. They're very good. They're very young. They're well coached, and we scored very high. We had to compete with two tough teams within our division and conference. I'll just leave it at that we're going to make some noise the next couple of years, our girls gymnastics team.
Okay. We take a little bit of a break from the competitions and talk about our cheerleading
Don't
staff.
say that, there's
All right, well,
competition.
there are
Come on.
competitions, but you know, we don't have a record here. They don't keep those kind of scores, or at least you don't have it here on our notes. But Coach Bethany Grasso and the cheerleaders, again, very supportive of all the athletics in the fall and winter seasons.
Well, they're undefeated this year, okay? So, and in my eyes, they're state champs. We had two All-Americans, Brittany Ferrone this year and Chelsea Muller were All-American cheerleaders. That's determined at camp. Brittany was also a captain, as well as Randy Brooks. And they just do an outstanding job. Everything the cheerleaders do to create spirit within the school, mostly at the football games, but they come out for the senior nights, for all the sports. They help with back-to-school night with Coach Murphy.
Coach.
Coach Murphy, Mr. Murphy. Yeah, I think he always wants to be a coach. No, sorry, Murph. And they do a lot, and they don't get the credit, but they are athletes, and they're out there in whatever the weather it is, and sometimes I've got to tell them, no, sorry, girls, we're not going out today. The weather is just too bad. And they're always mad at me because they feel if the teams are out there, they need to be out there. But they do a great job.
Boys soccer now, Coach Terry McKibben's team 14-4 on the year. Not exactly the kind of ending, perhaps, that they wanted, at least talking to some of the players that I have in class.
Well, when you get to the end, Ken, everything's competitive. It's like your Phillies not winning the World Series.
Okay, remind me about that.
They were the best team in the National
Frank.
League, but you get to that level, and like any of those games could have gone either way. A couple breaks, right? Think about it.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the boys soccer. We had a couple times the ball didn't go in. We still were division champs, which I don't think the kids really understand. Division champs mean you're consistent through the whole year. You've got 12 games to be consistent, and we had one loss in the division. You get to tournament time, one bad bounce, one crazy play, second you relax, and it gets a goal, and that's what happened. We were unlucky, but we're a quality team. Steve Fawzi, Chris Ramirez, and certainly Josh Alvarez, all conference performers, all division performers. They'll probably play at the next level. They provided leadership for us. I think he's got 9 letter winners coming back, and we're going to be strong again. There wasn't a hiccup. We won a title. We just fell short in the state. We lost to Marlboro in the states in a shootout. A shootout, meaning penalty kicks. Not my way. But since you asked the way I would do it, I do it the way they do in field hockey. Go 7-on-7 and played it as a winner. You know, but rather than the penalty kicks, some people say it's part of the game. Would you decide a basketball game of foul shots?
I can imagine. I remember the one of the World Cups recently, where the team that won. It
was Italy, I believe.
Italy on penalty kicks.
Right.
After it was a spirited match, but yeah.
I just don't think that's the way. But that's how they lost in the championship.
Not to kind of go over a broken record here, sound like a broken record, but Coach Brady had the same kind of hard luck, I guess, in his final game this year with the girls soccer team finishing 20-2 overall, but that last loss.
Right, they outshot the team 20-1 or something. The one shot was a crazy shot, a crazy, reaction transition, and they scored, and we outshot them. We hit the post how many times, and it just didn't go in, and that's soccer. When there's
and that was in the state
sectional
semifinals,
and that was at our place, and everything was in place. We only lost 2 games, one to Westfield, who were state champs, and everything was in place for us to win. And we won the GMCs. We won 1 game in a shootout. By the way, those shootouts, if it's a semifinal or quarter, first round, because you need a winner, they do have a shootout. It's only in the finals of the tournament that there won't be a shootout, because you don't need a winner. But the girls' soccer team, again, another great tradition carried on. Why? The youth program, the parents supporting it, the kids playing all year round. Brady being an outstanding coach, monitoring their play in the winter and the spring and the summer and make sure they're playing. And, we're as good as anyone. We just had a couple of bad breaks. But let me just mention a few girls. Rebecca Kent, Gabby Carbone, Gina Policastro, Elisa Rohan. She's the big designated throw-winner. Becky Afacito and Heather Ascor. And there's a gazillion more, the Riccio girl. There's so many other girls. It's a team full of stars. I apologize if I didn't mention one of their names, but the team concept is there again.
Now we go back.
I did say they were division champs,
Yeah.
undefeated in division, and they won the GMC tournament.
Okay, moving now inside to girls volleyball. Girls play in the fall. Coach Melissa Strauss and the girls team 20-5. I mean, I'm amazed. I'm looking at this record overall. Our fall sports team's 97, 34-1.
And that 34, we didn't back off on anybody. Girls volleyball and tennis, they played probably the best or the toughest schedule in the state, because both coaches realized it doesn't matter if you're undefeated. You got to win the Group 4 state tournament, and they need to get tested by tough competition. And Brady, too. Westfield. Like I said, Brady will play anybody, just like the other coaches. But girls volleyball, Strauss said, let's play them. Let's play them. Let's play them. She didn't care. We played anybody, not just weak teams. I always say about them, they weren't great kids, but they weren't real athletic. But they were great volleyball players. They were great fundamental players, and that's why we won. The ball didn't hit the floor. We kept the ball in play. We played great defense. We made the other team make mistakes. I mean, we made it to the state semis of the Group 4 state championships. Come on. We don't have a girl over at 5'8", 5'9".
Well, that's one thing you can't teach. You can't teach in volleyball. You can't teach height.
But I asked Strauss, what do you think? I asked her today. She goes, these girls just love playing volleyball, and they didn't want to lose. They didn't want to stop playing. She didn't say lose. She said they didn't want to stop playing. They just love playing volleyball because they're so good at it.
Well, where do you learn to play volleyball? I mean, we can understand the soccer programs here in the township are legendary. Where do you learn to play volleyball in New Jersey? I mean, you play at the beach, kind of informally, but where do you learn to play this?
My feeling is our phys ed teachers at the lower level are teaching the correct technique. That's the first thing. So it's like golf. You learn the correct way the first time. And then Strauss and Rutz are great coaches. Their practices are drills, and he's got marks on the floor where to serve, X's on the floor and where to stand. It's teaching, teaching, teaching. I mean, Becky Temkin, who's maybe one of our best ever, is the only four-year letter winner, four-year starter for our volleyball team. Because you have to learn the game first. That's why we usually junior, senior team loaded with them, because they have to learn the game. We teach the game of volleyball. And they drill, and they drill, and they teach, and they teach. I mean, you know how coaches break down film? I see him in a room breaking down volleyball film. How many other coaches do that? I don't know. But they teach. But Strauss does a great job. Becky Temkin was Player of the Year by the Home News. She was all conference, all division. Olivia Galenta, Nicole Venezia, and she's coming back, and Rena. Outstanding volleyball players. I congratulate them on their success. Division champ, GMC champs, and made a great run at the end of the year with kids, the tallest kid being like 5'8", 5'9". But they know the game of volleyball, great team spirit. And like Coach said, she said they just love playing, and they didn't want to stop playing. So congratulations to them.
One of the unsung heroes for East Brunswick Athletics is athletic trainer Phil Hostler and his group of student trainers who are there to kind of patch things up when things don't go right and when players are injured. Say a few words about the job that Phil does.
Well, let me just give out a hello and a thank you to Sarokal Tay and Shane Stone, two of the kids that work with Phil. That you talk about behind the scenes things, everything these kids do, from help with getting water to tape. And Phil is, I'm not sure if there's another Group 4 school with all the sports we have, including a junior high, the Churchill, with only one trainer. And he really, he's got a tough job mending all those little injuries. And, sometimes the first time a kid playing, the first time they sprain an ankle, it's like they're dying because they've never had it before. And Phil's very calm. He knows what he's talking about. He's very reassuring to the parents. The parents are constantly talking to them. If a parent calls me, I said, call Mr. Hostler. He'll tell you exactly what to do. He'll calm you down, and he'll tell you some doctors you can go to for treatment.
And I think one of the things that I don't know if the public is aware of, that these kind of these student trainers, there is a career path, and I remember, the name escapes me at the moment. We had a student trainer who went through and he ended up working for the New York Giants.
Well, it's going to be a trivia question, and the first person to close my office with this, I'll give them a T-shirt. We have a set of brothers. Set of brothers, that means two. One's got a World Series ring this year, and the other brother's got a Super Bowl ring from the Giants. How about that?
Because of being
And
on
they
the
both went through,
staff.
well, one went with Phil. One's a trainer with Phil, and the other one's working with the Yankees in the PR department. That's kind of interesting. Two brothers, two championships. But he's on the sideline. If you see the Giant game, he's always on the sideline. But they call in their last names. First one on my entry machine, they get a T-shirt.
You want to give out your phone number?
Well, it's in the book, not my home phone. How about that powder puff?
Yeah, that's fun. I mean, that's been going on now for
12 years.
12 years now. The girls have a flag football game, traditionally the Tuesday night before Thanksgiving, raising a lot of money, in this case for the Lakeview School.
Well, I went with them, Ken, not to cut you short, but I want to make sure I get this in. I went with them yesterday, and wow, you see some kids, and you say to yourself, oh my goodness. Then you wonder how our kids will react. Our kids that are great athletes, great students that just about have everything, you know, the perfect teeth, great clothes, good-looking kids. And then you see these kids come in, the multiple handicapped kids, and our kids just took over like you wouldn't believe. They took the kids in the wheelchair, took them to a table, and they all made T-shirts for the kids, and they like adopted a friend. It was great to see our student athletes rise to the occasion and work with these young kids, because it's not hard. You're a senior, and I've asked, and all the kids I asked, and it must have been 20, do you ever work with multiple handicapped kids before? No. What do you think? Oh, Mr. Knopp, it was great. Can we go back next year? Let's go. Make sure you continue this, Mr. Knopp. This is great stuff. So to the Coach Borden and the Powder Puff girls, thanks, because it was great for me. I enjoyed it, and I know they got a lot of it, and I hope it'll turn into a career for them. But it was a lot of fun, and the seniors did win last night in the squeaker.
It's 42-7.
Squeaker, Ken.
Okay,
Squeaker.
well, all right, we'd like to thank the crew at EBTV for helping us out always with the athletic broadcasts and with this wrap-up program here. Again, the state sectional, Group 4 sectional Central Jersey final at the College of New Jersey, December 5th, 3 p.m. Go Bears.
Absolutely, and again, thank you to you and the crew of Channel 3.
And I'd like to thank everyone and wish them all a good holiday season. For Frank Noppenberger, I'm Ken Sarokal. We're wrapping up here for Sports Talk for the fall season.